Hi all, welcome to Off the Post, back for another run on this. Apologies that I've been slacking on kind of getting my football discussions up on this on a weekly basis. I think just because I try and think of how much time is needed to put towards this, and just a bit of analytical work is a bit poor on my end, which is a bit of a shame really, because I quite like talking about football in general, whether it be Scottish, English, European and so forth. So comment down below folks how you feel football is in just now. I honestly feel it's in a bit of it needs its image changed. That's kind of what the video is going to be talking about really. And I feel with what's been going on in Scottish football since pretty much all season, despite how exciting the football's been, the fans have not played their part. And to be honest, same with the players. The players have had their moments of stupidity as well. And then obviously in English football, it's had its moments from in the FA Cup, where it be the Swansea Man City game is most recent, with the whole VAR situation, to even moments in the league where players will just go down so softly and make a dive, and it's pretty much just a discussion on either Match of the Day or BT Sport or whatever it may be on, or Football Focus, whatever discussional like football topic is that on that weekend or day. And then it's just, and you've got obviously the Grealish incident from the Aston Villa game, but there's just so much that needs fixed with football, and it's its image. And I've said it enough to people throughout that what football needs, and it needs to copy from rugby, is put ref cam, or in this case officials cam. I would say to all refs, like every ref, every linesman, fourth official, I would have, and even to the extent when you have VAR in play, is that you have the video cameras hearing everything that is being said. So if you've got, say, Raheem Sterling goes down in the box, and you've got, say, we'll just say it's Man City versus Burnley, and we've got James Tarkowski's made the tackle, he's gave away the penalty, and he is effing off at the referee for saying it's no this, it's no that, blah 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 blah. Go to VAR, go and check, and it'll prove it. But because of that, like basically that swearing attitude, and also what I would do is with the whole video camera thing, people will shoot it down right away, which I completely understand. People will then, if you've got the video camera there where people in the stadium can watch it on the big screens, and then you've also got it, if it's a televised game, you can clearly see, clear as day, that you can hear the effing and the swearing. That will genuinely create bigger discussions on the internet for people to say, oh, why did James Tarkowski swear at the ref? He didn't need to swear at him. You'll get people that will take both sides of the coin. You'll get your people that won't break it down and say so much, and then you'll get those that will be like, oh, it's setting a bad, in a sense it will be setting a bad precedent that someone that plays for England is having to swear at the ref. But the thing is, if the referee in retaliation is telling Tarkowski to go and take a hike, then you've got every right that the player might say, well, excuse me, you shouldn't, if you're like, if the player started it, then it's almost like they're both going to be at fault. And at the same time, you might then find you put fines in place or penalties that make it harder for the, like if say Tarkowski's been swearing, you could get a 3-match ban or a 5-match ban for abusive language. Suddenly those 3 or 5 games that you may miss may prove all the difference for your team staying up, going down, going into Europe, going a cup run, whatever it may be. And if you're a referee in the Premiership, for example, in the Premiership even, for example, and you've told, say, Tarkowski or Sterling where to go, or if you've been, even especially if you've been racist, we'll say racism, if anyone's ever been racist or swearing, like abusively, if it's a ref, especially, I would then say you're immediately struck off from doing Premiership games for, say, the rest of the season. Doesn't matter if it's the first game or the last game. If it's the last game, then you don't do next season at all. And then you may, depending on if the need is there, to do games if referees are short. Like if there's been so many referees being suspended due to it, it might suddenly make people rethink, oh, how do we behave? Because I almost feel there's a bit too much power, a bit too much ignorance, and language needs to be reevaluated, and that's kind of where I think a lot of the issues are stemming from. That is what the problem I think is with football, and it shows in the fans. Like, if you're getting fans throwing coins, bottles, fireworks, setting effigies of players on fires before the games, during the games and after the games, then you know there's a problem. You've got to clamp it down here and now. Like, we don't want it, like, some of the folk that I know have said, I've seen dark days in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s and the 90s. And they've said they've seen some really bad days. And they give examples, like they give either they used the 1980 one example I was given was the 1980 Scottish Cup final or something between Celtic and Rangers. That was like apparently a riot. And like, if you were to check up video, apparently there's ample videos and evidence to support this. And if you've got fans creating carnage, and if you've got rival, especially if it's rival fans wanting to go 12 bells with each other, whether it be 12-year-old kids or 70-year-old grown men, then I'm sorry, but this is like, and people will say, oh, you've got to throw the book. Like, for example, the guy that did Grealish only got 14 weeks, and then I read in the paper, they've been going on about Chris Kirkland, for example, that fan only got 16 weeks. I'm sorry, but it's almost like I'd be saying it shouldn't be 14 or 16 weeks for that. If Joe Bloggs did that on the street, like proper assault, you're probably gonna get 5 years in, like 3 or 5 years in jail for it. Like, if I was to just go and walk down the street and I seen the postman delivering the mail and thought, tell you what, I'm going to do him in for his post, like, I'd probably, that's your career, like your life ruined basically, because you're now a criminal, because you've just decided, just for the thrill of it, I thought I'll go and beat up the postman. It's like, what do you have to achieve from it? It's like, and I remember this, like, people will say, oh, I did it for a prank, or I was drunk, or I just wanted to be cool and get my 5 minutes of fame. You're not getting any 5 minutes of fame. All you're getting is a criminal record. You're in jail for 3-6 months, whatever, and there's a chance they'll probably now strike again, because they'll have maybe been struck off their job, they'll have been something, and it's needing, like, you've got to kind of reevaluate everything. And it feels like a sorry state almost. I feel like it can be fixed, and I know rugby has its moments as well, and like golf especially is another sport just now. If you watch the US tour, for example, there's a lot of players constantly there's been quite a few disqualifications and moments this year of perceived cheating, like from Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, in one of the competitions a few weeks back, where it was the path was in play, I can't get my foot on, and Dustin Johnson got a drop back, and Rory McIlroy had to play shot back and walked off with like a 6, to Garcia losing his plot on a golf course and destroying it, DeChambeau having a violent outburst and also kind of damaging the course as well in the process. And there's been other players I can think of, I would have to have a look at off the top of my head, but it's worrying that there's this attitude in a lot of sports just now from the participants especially, and it needs addressed. That's kind of, it's like image overhaul, and it's a shame really that how sport is kind of becoming this way just now. Like, it needs to kind of, it's almost like they just need to put them all in a big stadium and say, right, football, what's wrong? Golf, what's wrong? Cricket, what's wrong? Horse racing, what's wrong? Like, every sport needs it, and it might suddenly make people just rethink how they approach everything, and it'll be quite insightful to see what would happen from there in terms of what would happen, because sport needs it, I feel, and I think the people that get involved in it need to kind of rethink how they approach it as well. Like, you don't want to be making certain moments become statement pieces, like if you're a fan running on the pitch or a racetrack or golf course or whatever. But in terms of leagues in general just now, moving into actual tables, The Scottish Premiership, they have just over 3 games left before they're split, which I cannot be bothered with to save my life, and I feel it needs hopefully finally re-looked at, because 12 teams in the Premiership is lacklustre. It should be 16 or 18 teams, and at the moment Celtic 8 points clear of Rangers, who are 8 points clear of Aberdeen, and Aberdeen Kilmarnock's currently a point behind them. And then you've got a 4 point gap to Hearts, who are 2 points ahead of Hibs. And then looks like Dundee and St Mirren look like the most likely for relegation. Hamilton just developing a little bit of a gap, and it's definitely looking interesting on that front. Obviously the Premiership still constantly Liverpool and Manchester City. Then Fulham and Huddersfield look sadly relegated. Huddersfield had their chance against West Ham. They were 3-1 up, and then they threw it away, losing 4-3 in the last 15 minutes. And then obviously the international breaks. It's going to be fun and games for, say, Scotland, who have got Kazakhstan and San Marino. That should be hopefully them getting 6 points on the board, but at the same time there's no guarantee of it. When you look at maybe say the squad, you'd have your doubts, but at the same time when you're playing for some players in that team are in form, so I would say fair play. There's maybe a chance that they should still walk away with the 6 points, but you've got to at least have a bit of thought that maybe not. England should be fairly comfortable with themselves. Wales should have a good chance. Republic of Ireland under Mick McCarthy's second run shall be interesting. Northern Ireland will be looking to atone for their Nations League run. I think they could I'd be interested to see if they could go on our wee run and maybe see themselves in Euro 2020. But for me, I would say, looking at how all the leagues have kind of played out this season, the one league that still remains the most interesting, I would honestly say, is probably the Championship by a country mile. Always is. Like, the Championship is always an interesting league, and it's going to, I think it will kind of remain that way till the last day, the last week of the season. There's no guarantee of the top 3 all going up yet, because there's still obviously 8 games left in the season, or in some teams' case there's maybe 10, or in some games, which 10 by the way is in Bristol City's case and Swansea's case, and then 10 and 9 for teams like Middlesbrough, Derby and so forth. Like, Ipswich look sadly down, Bolton look down, but it looks like between Rotherham, Wigan, Millwall and Reading for who will be the third team to go down. That'll be quite an interesting insight. But I think, looking at each table, if I had said at the start of the season who I would have fancied for going up or winning the league and going down, I probably would be looking not too shabby at this stage. I think, saying that, West Brom I probably would have had maybe in my automatic slots over maybe say Norwich or Sheffield United. I would have probably I would have had Lincoln as champions in League 2, and then like the League 1 for example would have had like the likes of Portsmouth, Luton, Barnsley and Sunderland kind of fighting the top like 6. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with like the last 8 to 10 games, depending on your league of course. But hopefully the leagues continue to give us enjoyment on the pitch, but hopefully not the negative enjoyment. I'm kind of like, we want to kind of end the season on a high for everyone and then just take it from there. But I'm going to wrap it up on that basis, folks. Let me know down in the comments below how your respective team is doing. What do you think football needs done, or even sport in general needs done, to kind of re-evaluate itself? What does it need done to improve its image? If that is what you feel is, that's what I think it kind of needs done a little bit. But obviously everyone might perceive something a little bit differently. And also, if you've been doing say any bets during the season, whether it be for football, horse racing, golf, whatever it may be, how has your bets been doing this season or this year? And hopefully we'll see from there what happens in due course. So take it easy all, thanks for watching, and I will catch you all later.